Well, hello, this is Michael. I am speaking to you right now from my office and kitchen here in Berlin on this beautiful day. I very much hope that all of you at the A4 Museum um, are doing well and have been holding up fine during this difficult time and this crisis that all of us are facing. And I do want to thank you for your support and um, for your care also in terms of um, staying in touch and also facilitating something in this moment where, of course, a an ordinary sort of physical residency is cannot happen, and it's really great that you are um, trying to find other ways for all of us to stay in touch and to, in fact, actually communicate further and deepen the conversation. So I very much appreciate that. Let me try my best to get into some of the questions that you were asking. And I do hope that over the course of your suggested project, we can get into discussion and elaborate on all of these things on a somewhat deeper level. I have been doing comparatively just fine. Personally, I have been doing great. I have even to some extent enjoyed the this moment of isolation in a certain way. I'm getting lots of work done and preparing for when things are opening up again. Uh, so, but that is just on a personal level. You know, this is this. It should not be forgotten, of course, that this is a major crisis. The health aspect is the most immediate manifestation of it. Here in Germany, it's been contained to at least as of now. Uh, but the impact, the global impact in terms of the recession that's about to hit us all, the budget cuts, the economy, unemployment, and the way that this is going to affect, especially the poorer countries, the less developed countries. We cannot even really estimate at this point what is going to happen, what are going to be the consequences of this. So if I speak about this lightly as of now from a subjective personal perspective, that should not at all suggest that this is not a major and very serious crisis that we're facing right now. For me personally, yes, discontinued. Of course, I was supposed to work in Nigeria. Now I was supposed to be in. I would be in Lagos right now if it wasn't for the virus. Working with a beautiful, amazing people, a great collective there, and unfortunately, of course, that is now pushed back. But it is at the same time pushed back, so we're going to make up for that. And then immediately, I would have actually come to China. That was the plan. I would have been in Hangzhou, which I love, between the middle of June and the middle of July, 1 month, for a teaching event at the China Academy of Art at the School of Design and Innovation, which I was very much looking forward to. And so now that is going to happen remotely. We're going to do it, all of us, through a video. So it's exciting. I mean, of course, it would have been very nice to be, to be there physically, but it's also exciting. And I think we have to, in this moment of crisis, also, especially as cultural producers, you look at the productive moments. Don't not get lost in this moment of regret or in this moment of cancellation, and where things are seem to be on hold, or seem to be cancelled, or seem to be not happening. But I think we should really focus on these moments of experiment and these moments of production that can lead us somewhere. So, and we're doing this with the CAA now, which I'm very excited about. A new inspiration. That's, I think, exactly what I was getting at. We can find this new inspiration in this moment. It's there, and of course, moments of crisis. Again, especially I think for people who think critically, are moments of inspiration, even though they're hard and on a personal level can also be very tough. But they contain productive elements that I think we should strive, we should aim to identify and take advantage of. Have I been rethinking the value of art? Well, I mean, any changes in what I think? Yeah, I am trying to rethink the value of art all the time as an artist. I suppose that is what we're supposed to do. Every art has to be reinvented. It's a process. It's a process that I am going through all the time. I am trying to reinvent myself, reinvent my thinking, reinvent my art all the time as I go. Oops, this was my screen going blank. As I progress in my, let's say, in my kind of journey through the world, I have to say, if anything, that there are no real changes on what I'm thinking now. If anything, I feel that what I have been thinking before is only confirmed in this crisis, meaning that this crisis shows us that this is not an external enemy that's coming in, but this is something that the conditions of it coming into, well, not coming into being, but coming into being the way that it's manifested now, all of us globally have created. And the other thing, of course, that we have to look at is what's the response. The response to it should be a response of global solidarity, that we're completely in this together. Those who are stronger should be helping those who have less means, on a national basis, on a personal basis, and we've seen some of that, which is good, which is great, which is encouraging. But we've also seen division. We've also seen competition. But what it reinforces for me is that it's, of course, an ecological crisis. Nothing external. We have to examine the conditions that this little agent, this little virus, is highlighting for us now. And those should be scrutinized, and those should be changed. I mean, for instance, this is a very simplistic point, but in a halfway vegetarian world, this would not have happened. And I mean by that the whole world. We should cut down animal products, for example, cut them down by 50% or more. I would welcome that. But that is just one superficial kind of one aspect out of many. I could go on and on, but I'm not going to do it now. But any changes? Not really. For me, this has only reinforced, I think, many of my thoughts that I had before. So the third point is really interesting. The third point, your third question, is kind of tricky. It's actually kind of tricky because I believe that there might be a little bit of a so let's say from my perspective. Clearly, my philosophical perspective is kind of formed through Western philosophy. Does art need to respond to reality? For me, it's clear that there is no distinction between art and reality. I mean, of course, these are both like very fundamental concepts that we would have to actually, first of all, identify and define. But I'm not going to do that right now. But let me just say this: for me, art is a part of reality. So therefore, it can't really respond to it as in suggesting the idea that it could be outside. But what it can, art is it's a kind of interpretation of reality that aims, of course, also to potentially change the way that reality is constituted. But I do believe, actually, and this I think would be a really interesting point to discuss potentially. I'm assuming that the reality, the way the way you're getting at it, could be something else. I do understand that in Eastern philosophy, we may be approaching this from different perspectives. So this could be really interesting to further elaborate on. Does the reality need responses from art as well? Again, they cannot be separated. But I believe that that reality absolutely requires art, and it requires art for it to be scrutinized. It requires art for it to be critiqued, and it does require art for it to be changed. So, but not to forget again that art is a part of it. So there is this tension that you want to you can never quite totally step outside. And how do you think of social distancing? My daily life for the last couple of weeks and even months at this point would have actually been pretty much isolated anyway, because I was doing a lot of work in the office, writing, researching, reading, writing emails. I have to say that, and also I don't have so many family commitments. The people who have children or so, kids, for them, they're affected by this whole crisis in a much more profound way. For me, social distancing has not had that many, let's say, personal implications. I've been meeting a lot of people. Actually, we've kept social distance, right? A meter or 2 meters or something, but it was fine. It was fine. But I think, let's not forget that social distancing is at the very heart of the crisis, because of course everything in the end comes down to social distancing. If we keep distance, right? If we keep proper distance, then the virus can't spread. It's a matter of fact, right? That's why the restaurants have to be closed, schools, kindergarten, and so on and so forth. No sports events, no theater, no nothing. And this is because social distancing cannot be kept under those conditions. So that's the problem. So at the very heart of this thing is the social distancing. But I think let's approach this from a kind of Brechtian perspective. Brecht, the German great playwright and poet, who I'm sure this idea of distancing was a critical tool to critically reflect upon the conditions that are presented on stage in Brecht's case. But let's approach this in a way that may allow us, this idea of social distancing may allow us a moment of critical reflection. So I think that's maybe good. That could, what I said earlier is, in this crisis we have to let's say accept it for what it is, but look for the productive elements in it, the moments where we can think critically about things. And I think that social distancing, approached from a Brechtian perspective, Brecht actually, who was Brecht, I should say, in German, he was very drawn to China, by the way. So that would be an interesting lead, I think, there to elaborate further on. But this idea of a critical distance, of a critical distancing, could also apply to social distancing, and in that way, in that moment, it may become less of a loss. This loss of affection, of getting a hug, of being close to people, which of course we all want and we all need that, and it has psychological and all these repercussions that we're facing. But then again, let's aim for a moment of critical reflection. I think that could be very helpful. And if you break through the sense of distance, the question, um, well, I'm not sure about this, because I have been very I have I've been very I've been very involved with people. I've been talking to lots of people on, whether it's uh, Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, or actually now we're doing Ding Talk with the CAA. So I feel like it's been a great time socially in many ways, just like a little bit in a different way. But I think, again, this is very personal. This applies very much to, depends very much on the individual personal situation. We have a beautiful studio complex here in Berlin. We have lots of outside space. Um, Again, personally, I have been doing just fine, but I think I and we all have to be very, very sympathetic to the notion that there are people for whom it has been very very difficult. People who have conditions, who are more prone to getting seriously ill from this virus. People with kids, who now have to homeschool them, and so, I mean, in so many ways that I cannot possibly capture now or elaborate on. But I feel like I have been in touch with so many people in so many great ways. And as we are in touch right now, this is what I said earlier. I appreciate your this idea that you've been bringing us together, and that we're engaging in a conversation that can lead to something which I'm very much interested in what it can lead to. And so now let me bring this to a close. I've been already speaking for way too long here. And just briefly, my curiosity about China. Yeah, I've been into China um, many times now, and I've always enjoyed it so much. And never been to Chengdu, which of course that would be beautiful to go. And I very much appreciate the work that you've been doing at the A4. I've researched all of it for the application, and of course, my project, right, was based on this idea of, I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong, but this idea of limpan, this ecological field, um, based on Chengdu Plain. I think that it's the larger Chengdu area, especially the of course outside the city, in nature basically, um, and I really wanted to explore that idea. And I think, again, this idea now, um, this idea of ecologies, to think in terms of assemblages, to think in terms of milieus, to think in terms of ecological entanglements, that is the way of thinking that we need now, and this is the way of thinking that we need to advance. To think of things within entanglements, species, human, non-human. To think of the human and the technological. To think of this, to bridge these gaps, if they even still exist, which I'm not sure they still do. Maybe we're already beyond them, but we don't know it. But that's what I was getting at. To sort of just kind of embed the museum, to make the museum a place of knowledge production within this greater ecological framework of Limpan and Chengdu Plain, and to think about ways of how we can reconceptualize ecological entanglements, the human, the animal, the human becoming animal, animality, technicality from a Deleuzian perspective in that way. And I think this relates very closely to what this crisis, the coronavirus crisis, has pointed out to us. It's an ecological crisis, and so it's not entirely clear as to what the, even for me, I don't have, I'm not entirely resolved on what the solution to it is. But it seems to me that ecologically we have to advance as a species, in a way, in the post-human condition, the condition in which we have to We want to move away from anthropocentrism, but not just in that way. We're becoming post-human. We have to integrate machines, integrate the non-human, sort of a vital materialism that I think I am interested in, and this virus is a part of that. It's a part of it. We can't again, my screen is blanking. We're not. We have to come to terms with it. We have to create a milieu where this is where we can live in that we can co-inhabit with this virus, and that's and clearly we don't have that right now. We need to build milieus of co-inhabitation with other species, and so let me close it here because I think I've been going on for way too long, but. These are a couple of thoughts. I do appreciate your time. I hope we can continue this. I very much look forward to getting to know all of you better. And please stay healthy and stay safe. And I wish you all the best from Berlin.